Namaste and welcome back to Waking Up with Mindful Serenity. We're going to continue on this beautiful February morning to answer another question. I pulled it out. The dog needed to go out, so I dropped it down without reading it. So this is a question I pulled out a few minutes ago. What is meant, I'm still a little short of breath from taking her out. What is meant by life will always give you what you need? Life will always give you what you need. What is meant by that? Take a deep breath, and I'll start my timer. What is meant by life will always give you what you need? And I believe it will. I believe life will give you what you need. It may not always give you what you want. And what we want is highly, highly overrated in most cases. Our seeking what we want tends to get us into a lot of trouble, tends to take us away from that which is truly important, that what I believe are here for, and that is to grow inside rather than outside. So when this questioner asks what is meant by life, how does she say, life will always give you what you need. I think we don't often recognize what we need, You can't always have what you need, but if you try sometimes, or have what you want, but if you try sometimes, you get what you need. That song from the Stones. It's true because we don't recognize what we need. We think what we need is what we want, what we prefer, what we want to avoid, what we are averse to. And that is the second noble truth that the Buddha talked about, isn't it? That there is suffering, and the cause of suffering is this desiring, this deciding what we want and what we don't want in our lives. And when we strive for that and don't get it, we feel like we've been cheated by life. We feel like we're being punished. We feel like this, we have this wrong idea about karma, the effect of something we must have done wrong. And that's not it at all. Life is not here to give us what we want, because what we want is not what we need. What we want is often not what we truly need at the deepest level of who we are. It might be what the ego needs, or thinks it needs, or tries to convince us that we need. It might be what society tells us we need. That a want is what we need. But in reality, these social roles and these expectations society places upon us, and our own idea of striving for what we desire, gets us into trouble. It takes us away from who we truly are at the deepest level. It doesn't allow us to see that. It keeps us on this little horizontal plane, when the vertical plane takes us deeper, and we really want to be going deeper rather than traveling along this plane of materiality. That under the materialism paradigm we're so stuck under, there is more to life than this. Something inside all of us tells us that, and we may squish that little voice down and say it's not real. Let's base everything on materialistic science. If I can't see it, hear it, feel it, think it, or do it, then it's not real. But there's something within us that is deeper than this. There's something in us that is here for a reason we're not even aware of. It's not about getting the good job or the good car or the good relationship or, living in a certain part of the world and having a 6-figure income. It is about being and experiencing, because this one consciousness is experiencing life through each and every one of us, 8.5 billion humans and all the other beings in the world. And we got to give it what it needs, not what ego needs. Ego's needs are different than what the self needs and what this one mind needs. And ego's needs are basically just desires that get us into trouble. They keep us suffering and striving and struggling rather than freeing us to be who we truly are. So life will, in its myriad of ways and its extreme intelligence that we, with our little human minds, are incapable of understanding. We don't understand the mysteries of the universe. We understand so very, very little. Will give us what we need. So the circumstance that we call negative that shows up in front of us is what we need. The divorce that you weren't expecting is what you need. That illness you just were diagnosed with is what you need. That 3-figure income in your bank account is what you need. Because each of these things are going to take us to where we need to be. And that is inside, not outside. They're going to take us eventually to the question, well, who am I really and why am I here? And when we get to that profound questioning, we begin to recognize that what we need is different than what we desire, and what we desire is based on something we aren't, but we believe we are, which is this ego, this little separate entity. And we get to begin to see the process of seeing more clearly that who we are is not separate from the person next to me or the table or anything else. It's this one energy, this one consciousness that's breathed through all of us. And it's about giving it what it needs to experience life. Not what this ego identity, this self-concept we created to feel more safe in this world, what it says it needs or wants. It's what will make us be who we are is what we need. And these things that show up in our life that seem so contrary to, this idea we have of safety and security and of pleasant and pleasure and of desiring what's good or bad, or good, sorry, and right and should be. It's contrary to that, but it may be exactly what you need. So even though the circumstance sucks and you can't make sense of it with your little human mind about why am I having to go through this and why did this happen to me and why does this keep happening to me? Why am I always struggling? These are circumstances your soul, if you want to use that word soul, needs to grow and learn, because this is a process of growing inside, not outside. Desire takes us to outward growth, to the exterior growth, to building up these masquerading selves we're wearing so that they have more bling on them. They're more, recognizable and more appreciated by others and more, envied and whatnot on our social pages. But that's exterior growth means nothing. The meaning of life, Michael Singer says, is to go back up there with less than you're living with now. So we took a lot of garbage on since we incarnated into these bodies and these egos and these desiring and this likes and dislikes and preferring and this struggle to achieve and, create these false identities and roles that society condones. We've taken up a lot of garbage. We fail to see who we truly are and what we're here for. And so we have to do a lot of purifying and cleaning of this stuff before we get up there. And every life circumstance that's challenging is a trigger for the stuff we stored inside to come out so that we do purify. We want to get rid of it all. We want to release it all. We want to go back up with less than we have right now. And that's not talking about the material things we own. It's talking about the garbage we have inside that we've accumulated in our misidentity as the separate entity we think we are and our failure to see who we truly are. We've attained a lot of garbage and stuffed and stored a lot of stuff to make our experience pleasurable or pleasant. Well, it's not about that at all. It's not about this me. This me isn't real, but it's not about this me. It's about life, doing what life does. And we are a part of that life. 1.3 million Earths make up the sun. The sun is just one little star in a galaxy of billions, in a universe of trillion galaxies. And we're worried about what this me likes. But life is so good and the universe is so good, it gives us what we need, right? It gives us what we need. May not give us what the ego likes, but it's giving the soul what it needs, and we need to trust that. Trust that. Have faith in that. And enjoy and embrace this process of living. Wow, so cool. So cool to be here. Yeah. Life will always give us what we need, even though it doesn't seem like it's doing that. We just are mixed up about what it is we need. That's all. Thank you for joining me. Hope you have an amazing day. Namaste.